Let me tell you something that's going to piss you off at first, then set you free. Most men are walking around with a belief about women that guarantees, and I mean guarantees, they'll never have peace of mind. I've spent my entire career proving this, and I've never been wrong. The belief sounds reasonable. It feels right. Society even encourages it, but it's destroying your happiness every single day. And I'm about to show you exactly why. Look, here's what you're going to get in the next 25 minutes. I'm going to show you the exact irrational belief that's making you miserable around women. Not theory, not fluff. The actual thought pattern that creates anxiety, anger, and desperation. You're going to learn why you feel so damn upset when women don't act the way you think they should. Why rejection feels like death. Why you can't relax and just enjoy female company. I've worked with thousands of men, shy men, angry men, successful men, struggling men, and this belief shows up everywhere. And here's the thing. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. And once you challenge it, your entire emotional world shifts. This isn't about pickup lines. It's not about becoming someone you're not. It's about removing the mental poison that's been destroying your peace of mind since puberty. Most people think peace with women comes from getting what you want from them. Dead wrong. Peace comes from giving up your irrational demands about them. And that's exactly what I'm going to teach you. By the end of this video, you'll understand the difference between preferences and demands, why demands create emotional hell, and how to actually think about women in a way that gives you your life back. Sound good? Let's go. So what is this belief? What's the thing that's been eating away at you? It's this. Women must like me. Women must approve of me. Women must behave the way I think they should. That's it. That's the poison. And I know what you're thinking right now. You're thinking, well, what's wrong with wanting women to like me? And that's exactly the problem. You're not just wanting it. You're demanding it. And there's a massive difference between those two things. Let me break this down for you, because this is where most people get confused. A preference sounds like this. I would like women to find me attractive. I prefer it when women are interested in me. I hope this woman says yes when I ask her out. That's a preference. That's healthy. That's normal. But a demand sounds like this. Women must find me attractive, or I'm worthless. She has to like me, or something's wrong with me. This woman needs to say yes, or I can't handle it. Can you feel the difference? Can you hear how one creates peace and the other creates panic? The preference says, I want this, but I'll be okay if I don't get it. The demand says, I must have this, or I'll fall apart. And here's the kicker. You've been running on demands your whole life, and you didn't even know it. Now, where did this come from? How did you end up with this demand in your head? Well, you learned it. You weren't born demanding that women like you. Babies don't sit there thinking, that woman better approve of me or I'm garbage. No, you picked this up from the world around you. From movies that showed the guy only becoming valuable when he gets the girl. From your friends who made fun of anyone who couldn't get a date. From every message you ever received that said your worth as a man is tied to how women respond to you. And here's what makes it worse. You also have biological drives. You're attracted to women. That's normal. That's natural. But somewhere along the way, you took that natural desire and you added this irrational demand on top of it. You went from, I'm attracted to women and I'd like to connect with them, to women must want me or I'm defective. And that extra layer, that demand, is what's killing you. Now, this demand comes in 3 flavors, and you probably have all 3. The first one is a demand on yourself. You tell yourself, I must be successful with women. I have to be good at this. I need to know what to say, how to act, how to be attractive. And when you're not successful, when you don't know what to say, you beat yourself up. You call yourself a loser. You feel like garbage. That's a demand on yourself. The second flavor is a demand on women. You think, women must treat me the way I want. She should text me back. She needs to appreciate what I'm doing for her. She has to give me a chance. And when women don't do what you think they should, you get angry. You feel entitled. You call them names. You think there's something wrong with them. That's the demand on other people. The third flavor is a demand on the world. You think dating should be easier than this. The universe should make this work for me. It's not fair that other guys have it easier. Life must give me what I want with women. And when the world doesn't cooperate, when dating is hard, you feel hopeless. You feel depressed. You think the whole system is broken. That's the demand on conditions. And here's why this belief feels so right, even though it's destroying you. It's tied to your identity. Somewhere deep down, you've decided that success with women equals being a valuable man, and failure with women equals being worthless. So of course the demand feels reasonable. Of course it feels like you need women to like you, because you've linked your entire self-worth to their response. Plus, everyone around you reinforces this. Your friends talk about getting laid like it's the ultimate achievement. Society treats men who are successful with women as winners and men who aren't as losers. Even self-help advice tells you to become more attractive, get better results, prove your value. Nobody's telling you to stop demanding in the first place. Let me give you an example from my own life. When I was 19 years old, I was terrified of women. I mean, genuinely terrified. I couldn't even make eye contact with an attractive woman without my heart racing, my palms sweating, my mind going blank. And you know what I discovered when I really looked at what was happening? I was demanding their approval. I was walking up to them in my mind thinking, she must like me, she has to think I'm interesting, she needs to say yes. And because I was demanding it, the thought of rejection felt like the end of the world. So I did something radical. I went to the Bronx Botanical Garden, and I decided I was going to approach woman after woman after woman, not to get dates, but to prove to myself that I could survive rejection. I approached over 100 women in a month. And you know how many dates I got? One. Just one. But here's what happened. My anxiety dropped dramatically. Not because I got good results. Because I stopped demanding good results. I started preferring instead of demanding. And that changed everything. Now, you might be thinking, okay, I see the difference, but what's the big deal? What's wrong with wanting women to like me? Everything. Let me show you exactly what this demand does to your brain. When you demand instead of prefer, you create 3 devastating emotional consequences. The first one is anxiety. The second is rage. The third is depression. And all 3 of them come directly from your demands. Let's start with anxiety. When you demand that women must like you, every interaction becomes a test. Every conversation is life or death. You walk up to a woman and your brain starts screaming, what if she rejects me? What if I say the wrong thing? What if she thinks I'm boring or ugly or weird? And because you're demanding success, because you're telling yourself you need her approval, your nervous system treats social rejection like it's a physical threat. Your body doesn't know the difference between a woman saying no and a lion attacking you. So you get the same fear response. Your heart races. Your mind goes blank. You freeze up. I had a client once, successful guy, good-looking, smart, had his life together. But he couldn't make eye contact with women he found attractive. He would literally look at the floor. And when we dug into it, you know what we found? He was demanding that every woman he talked to must think he was impressive. He had to get it right. He couldn't afford to mess up. So his brain tried to protect him from the catastrophe of rejection. Just shut down. Made him avoid eye contact entirely. That's what anxiety does. It tries to protect you from the terrible outcome you're demanding can't happen. Now let's talk about rage. You know what anger is? Anger is always about a violated demand. Always. You don't get angry when your preferences aren't met. You get disappointed. You get sad. But you only get angry when you think something that must happen didn't happen. So when you demand that women must like you, must treat you right, must give you a chance, and then they don't, you get pissed off. You think, how dare she not respond to my text? Who does she think she is, rejecting me? She should appreciate what I'm offering. And suddenly you're calling her names. You're bitter. You're resentful. You become the nice guy who turns hostile the second he doesn't get what he thinks he deserves. Here's the truth. You're not angry at women. You're angry that your demand wasn't met. The woman didn't do anything wrong. She just didn't do what you demanded she do. And your brain interprets that as an injustice. Because you believe she must behave the way you want. That's entitlement. That's what demands create. And then there's depression. This one's the quietest, but maybe the most destructive. When you demand success with women and you don't get it, you don't just feel disappointed. You feel worthless. You think, this proves I'm defective. If I was a real man, women would want me. If I was valuable, this wouldn't be so hard. And you start rating your entire self, your whole identity, based on this one area of your life. I've worked with men who had incredible careers, great friends, interesting hobbies, and they felt empty inside because they weren't successful with women. They had taken their worth as a human being and tied it completely to female approval. So every rejection wasn't just a no. It was evidence that they were fundamentally broken. And here's the vicious cycle. The demand creates emotional disturbance. The emotional disturbance changes your behavior. You become needy, or angry, or avoidant. That behavior makes things worse with women. The worse outcomes strengthen your belief that you're not good enough, which makes you demand even harder next time. And the cycle just keeps spinning. You become exactly the desperate, anxious, angry person you were afraid of being in the first place. All because of the demand. So if demand are the problem, you might be wondering, where did I learn to think this way? And more importantly, why does everyone around me seem to think the same irrational thoughts? Let me explain the cultural con job. Society actively teaches you to link your worth to success with women. This isn't an accident. This is programming. And it starts early. Think about every movie you've ever watched. What's the story? The guy is nobody, he's a loser, he's incomplete, and then he gets the girl, and suddenly his life has meaning. He's transformed. He's valuable now. The entire narrative structure of our culture says, male worth equals getting the girl. You've watched that story 1,000 times, and every time it reinforced the demand. Romantic comedies are even worse. They present love as destiny, as something that must happen, as the thing that completes you. They show men pursuing women relentlessly, ignoring no, pushing through rejection, and eventually being rewarded because their love was so strong. It's all garbage. It's all teaching you that you must have this, that you can't be happy without it, that your value depends on it. And then there's the whole finding the one mythology. The idea that there's one perfect person out there for you, and you must find her, or you'll never be truly happy. This creates an impossible demand. Not only do you demand success with women in general, you demand success with one specific perfect woman. And when relationships don't work out, you think you failed at finding your destiny instead of just recognizing that you and another person weren't compatible. The mythology itself is a demand factory. Then you've got peer pressure. Your friends growing up, what do they talk about? Who's hot? Who got laid? Who's a virgin? Who's a loser? The social hierarchy among men is heavily based on perceived success with women. So you learned early, if you're not successful with women, you're at the bottom. You're the guy everyone makes fun of. That fear, that social pressure, it reinforces the demand every single day. And let's talk about the competition mindset. You've been taught to see other men as competitors for a limited resource. Like there aren't enough women to go around, so you have to prove you're better than other guys. You have to win. And if you're not winning, you're losing. That framework turns dating into a war, and it makes every failure feel like a defeat that proves your inadequacy. It's insane, but it's everywhere. Now, some people will say, but Albert, this is just evolution. Men are biologically driven to compete for mates. This is natural. And yeah, there's some truth there. You have biological drives. You're attracted to women. You want sex, companionship, connection. That's all real. But here's what people miss. Animals have drives too, and they don't rate their worth based on success. A male bird that doesn't attract a mate doesn't sit there thinking he's garbage. He just tries again, or he doesn't, and he goes about his life. The drive is there, but the irrational demand isn't. You've taken a natural preference, I want to connect with women, and you've added a completely irrational demand on top of it. I must connect with women, or I'm worthless. The drive didn't create the demand. Your thinking did. And that's good news because it means you can change it. And here's where the self-help industry makes everything worse. How many books, videos, courses have you seen that promise to teach you how to get any woman you want? How to be irresistible? How to never face rejection again? All of that reinforces the demand. It tells you that success is not only possible, but required. It tells you that if you just learn the right techniques, follow the right steps, you'll get what you need. And when it doesn't work, you think there's something wrong with you for not being able to execute the formula. You never question the demand itself. I've spent decades criticizing the pickup artist community for exactly this reason. They teach technique, but they don't teach rational thinking. They teach you how to manipulate outcomes, but they don't teach you how to be emotionally healthy. And the result is men who might get more dates, but are just as miserable because they're still operating from a place of demand. They still believe they need female approval to be valuable. They just gotten better at faking confidence. Real confidence doesn't come from success. It comes from giving up the demand for success. It comes from genuinely believing, I prefer this, but I don't need it. And nobody's teaching that. So culture screwed you over. Your brain got wired wrong. What now? Do you just accept being miserable? Hell no. This is where we start fixing this mess. I'm going to teach you something I call disputation. It's the process of actively challenging and destroying your irrational beliefs. And it works. I've used it on myself. I've used it with thousands of clients. And it's going to work for you if you actually do it. Here's how it goes. You take that demand, that belief that women must like you, and you ask it some very simple questions. Questions that force you to look at reality instead of your emotional reasoning. First question, where's the evidence that women must like me? Show me the law of the universe that says women have to respond to me the way I want. Show me the proof that I'm entitled to their approval. You can't, because there is no evidence. There is no law. Women don't owe you anything. They're going to like you or not like you based on a million factors, most of which have nothing to do with you. Some women will be attracted to you. Some won't. That's reality. Your demand that they must like you doesn't change that. Second question, does the universe operate according to my demands? Do things happen just because I think they should? Obviously not. The world doesn't care what you demand. Rain doesn't stop falling because you demand sunshine. Traffic doesn't disappear because you demand an easy commute. And women don't like you just because you demand they should. The universe is indifferent to your demands. Reality is what it is. And your demands just make you suffer when reality doesn't comply. Third question, what's the worst that actually happens if women don't like me? Really think about this. Not what your anxiety tells you. What actually happens? A woman says no. You feel disappointed, maybe embarrassed. And then what? You go home. You wake up the next day. You're still alive. You still have your job, your friends, your interests. Life continues. The catastrophe your brain is predicting doesn't happen. You survive. You move on. The worst-case scenario is temporary discomfort, not death. Fourth question, does this demand help me or hurt me? Look at your life. Has demanding that women like you made you happier? Has it made you more confident? Has it improved your interactions? Or has it made you anxious, angry, and depressed? Has it made you needy and desperate? Has it ruined your enjoyment of dating? Be honest. The demand isn't helping you. It's destroying you. Now, here's where people get tripped up. They think, but I need female approval. I need connection. I need intimacy. And that's where you're wrong. You don't need it. You want it. And that's a critical distinction. Need means you can't survive without it. Need means if you don't get it, you'll die or be fundamentally damaged. But you won't. Plenty of people live full, happy lives without romantic relationships. Plenty of people go through periods of being single and they're fine. You don't need female approval to survive. You want it. You prefer it. And that's totally reasonable. But calling it a need makes it a demand, and demands create suffering. Let me give you the reframe. Instead of saying, she must like me, you say, I strongly prefer that she likes me, but she doesn't have to, and I'll be okay either way. Read that again. I strongly prefer that she likes me, but she doesn't have to, and I'll be okay either way. That's not giving up. That's not being passive. That's being rational. You're still going to pursue what you want. You're still going to put yourself out there. You're still going to try. But you're not going to fall apart when it doesn't work out. You're not going to rage when she says no. You're not going to spiral into depression when you face rejection, because you've let go of the demand. And here's the beautiful part. Letting go of the demand doesn't mean you care less. It means you suffer less. You can still want something deeply, pursue it passionately, and be disappointed when it doesn't happen. But you don't have to be devastated. You don't have to question your worth. You don't have to make it mean something about your value as a person. Now, I want you to think about this scientifically. Treat your beliefs like hypotheses. If you believe that not getting female approval will destroy you, test it. Go get rejected. See what happens. I'm serious. Go talk to a woman you find attractive, expect nothing, and notice that when she's not interested, you survive. You're still here. The world didn't end. When I was working on my own social anxiety, I did this deliberately. I went out and got rejected over and over again on purpose. Not because I enjoyed it, but because I needed data. I needed proof that rejection wasn't catastrophic. And after enough exposures, my brain finally got the message. Oh, this isn't actually dangerous. I can handle this. And the anxiety dropped. You need to do the same thing. Exposure is how you retrain your nervous system. You can't think your way out of anxiety. You have to show your brain, through repeated experience, that the thing you're afraid of isn't actually a threat. But here's where most people screw this up. They understand the logic. They get the concepts. They even agree with me. But they don't actually feel different. And that's because there's a difference between intellectual understanding and emotional conviction. You can know something in your head and still not believe it in your gut. So how do you bridge that gap? How do you make this stick? Repetition, practice, exposure. You've been practicing the irrational belief for years, maybe decades. It's not going to disappear because you watched one video or read one book. You need to practice the rational belief just as much as you practice the irrational one. And that takes work. Here's what I mean by practice. Every morning and every night, you write out your rational belief. You say it out loud. You argue with yourself. You remind yourself of the evidence. You dispute the demand. You do this over and over until your brain starts to automatically think the new way instead of the old way. Some of my clients, I had them write the rational belief 20 times a day, every day, for weeks. And they thought it was stupid at first. They thought it was a waste of time. But then, slowly, it started to sink in. The new belief became more familiar. The old belief started to sound strange. And that's when the emotional shift happens. You also need emotional homework. You need to deliberately put yourself in situations that trigger the old belief, so you can practice the new one under pressure. This isn't theory. This is applied work. You go talk to women without trying to get anything from them. You approach someone you find attractive and you practice thinking, I prefer she likes me, but she doesn't have to. You notice when the old demand creeps back in, and you catch it immediately and challenge it right there in the moment. This is uncomfortable. This is anxiety-provoking. And that's how you know you're doing it right. If you're staying comfortable, you're avoiding the work. The discomfort is where the growth happens. You have to be willing to feel anxious, to feel awkward, to face rejection, while simultaneously practicing your new belief. That's how you integrate. I approached over 100 women in 1 month, remember? Not because I was trying to get dates, because I was training my brain. I was proving to myself that I could handle the discomfort, that rejection wasn't death, that I'd be okay. And you know what? It worked. My anxiety dropped. My confidence grew. Not because I got good results, but because I stopped demanding them. Now, let me be clear about something. This is a long game. This is not a quick fix. You're not going to challenge your belief once and be cured. You're going to have setbacks. You're going to slip back into old patterns, especially when you're stressed or tired or really attracted to someone. And that's normal. That's part of the process. What matters is that you catch it. What matters is that you notice when you're demanding instead of preferring, and you redirect. You do that over and over for months, and gradually the new pattern becomes your default. This is retraining your brain. It takes time, but it works. Okay, so you're doing the work. You're challenging the beliefs. You're practicing the new thinking. But what does life actually look like on the other side? What happens when you truly give up this demand? Let me paint you a picture. First, your emotional baseline shifts. You're not chronically anxious around women anymore. You can have a conversation without your heart racing. You can approach someone without rehearsing every word in your head. You're just present. You're relaxed because you're not treating every interaction like a pass-fail test. Rejection feels different. It still stings a little. You still feel disappointed. That's normal. That's healthy. But it doesn't devastate you. It doesn't make you question your worth. A woman says no, and you think, okay, that's disappointing. She's not interested, and you move on. You don't spiral. You don't ruminate. You don't make it mean something about your value as a person. And here's something interesting. You actually start to enjoy female company. Not because you're trying to get something from them, just because they're interesting people. You can have a conversation, laugh, connect, without this underlying agenda of needing them to like you. And that's incredibly freeing. Your behavior changes too. You approach women more naturally. You're not running scripts in your head. You're not trying to perform. You're just being yourself and seeing if there's chemistry. And if there's not, that's fine. You're selective because you're not desperate. You walk away from situations that don't feel right. You have standards because you're not operating from scarcity anymore. And here's the paradox. When you stop demanding, you often become more attractive. Not always, not guaranteed, but often, because women can sense neediness. They can tell when you're desperate for approval, and it's a turnoff. But when you genuinely don't need their approval, when you're just authentically interested and okay with whatever happens, that's attractive. That's confident. So sometimes, ironically, you actually get better results when you stop demanding them. But and this is critical, that's not why you do it. You don't give up the demand in order to manipulate better outcomes. You give up the demand because it's making you miserable. The potential for better results is just a side effect. The real prize is peace of mind. Let me give you a contrast. I had 2 clients years ago, both struggling with women. Man, they learned all the techniques. He got better at approaching. He got some dates. He even got a girlfriend. But he was still anxious, still needy, still measuring his worth by her responses. The relationship ended badly, and he crashed hard because he never challenged the core belief. He still demanded success. Mamby took the harder route. He worked on his thinking. He challenged his demands. He practiced preferences. In the beginning, he actually had fewer dates than Man A. He was less focused on outcomes, more focused on just being genuine. But over time, something shifted. He became genuinely content. He stopped measuring his worth by female approval. And eventually, he met someone, and it was healthy. It was balanced. And when I asked him about it, he said, "The best part is I'm happy either way. I'm happy with her, and I'd be happy without her. I finally have peace." That's what you're aiming for. Not more dates. Not more success. Peace. Self-respect that doesn't depend on what women think of you. The ability to pursue connection without falling apart when it doesn't work. The freedom to be happy single or partnered because your worth isn't tied to your relationship status. So what do you actually gain? You gain your life back. You gain the ability to enjoy dating instead of dreading it. You gain genuine connections instead of performances. You gain freedom. You don't have to play games. You don't have to pretend to be someone you're not. You can just show up as yourself, prefer connection, and be okay with whatever happens. That's freedom. That's peace. Now let's bring this home. I want to give you something specific you can do today, right after this video, to start this process. Here's your first step. Step 1. Catch your demands. For the next week, I want you to pay attention to your thoughts about women. Notice when you think words like should, must, need, have to. Write them down. All of them. Don't judge yourself. Don't try to change them yet. Just observe. Just collect data. This is you becoming aware of how often you're demanding instead of preferring. Step 2. Question each one. Take those demands you wrote down and ask them the reality check questions I gave you earlier. Where's the evidence this must happen? Does the universe operate by my demands? What's the worst that actually happens if I don't get what I want? Does this demand help me or hurt me? Write out the answers. Be brutally honest with yourself. Logic is your weapon here. Step 3. Create your rational alternative. For every demand you identified, write the preference version. If you wrote, "She must text me back," rewrite it as, "I prefer she texts me back, but she doesn't have to, and I'll be okay if she doesn't." If you wrote, "I need to be successful with women," rewrite it as, "I strongly want to connect with women, but I don't need it to be happy or valuable." Make it personal. Make it specific to your actual situations. Step 4. Practice the new belief. Say it out loud 10 times. Right now, out loud. Then imagine a scenario where it applies. Picture a woman you're attracted to. Picture her rejecting you. And while you're imagining that, repeat the rational belief. Notice how your body feels when you believe the preference instead of the demand. Notice the difference. Then do this every day for 30 days minimum. And here's a bonus step. Go get rejected on purpose. I'm serious. Find a situation where you can face rejection with zero stakes. Ask someone for something you know they'll say no to. Strike up a conversation with someone and practice not needing them to like you. Feel the discomfort, survive it, and notice that you're okay. That's exposure. That's how you retrain your nervous system. Let me tell you about the businessman from the beginning of this video. The one who came to my office miserable because he couldn't stop thinking about women. His first step was exactly what I just told you. He wrote down his demands. He questioned them. He created his rational alternatives. In the first week, he still felt anxious. He didn't believe the new thoughts yet, but he kept practicing. Week 2, he started to notice the old demands popping up less automatically. Week 12, he told me, "I forgot to be anxious. I was just having conversation." That's when you know it's working. When you forget to be nervous because you're not demanding anything anymore. All right, here's what we covered. You've been walking around with one poisonous belief, that women must like you, approve of you, or behave the way you want. That demand, not the actual rejection, not your circumstances, that's what's been destroying your peace. We talked about how this demand creates anxiety, rage, and depression. How society taught you to think this way. How you can challenge it using logic and reality testing. How you make it emotional through practice and exposure. And what life actually looks like when you replace demands with preferences. Here's the thing. This is simple, but it's not easy. Your brain has practiced the irrational belief for years, maybe decades. It's going to resist. You're going to slip back into old patterns. That's normal. The work is catching yourself and redirecting over and over again until the new belief becomes automatic. But I promise you this. If you do the work, your life will change. Not because you'll suddenly become wildly successful with women. Maybe you will, maybe you won't. But because you'll stop torturing yourself either way. And that, my friend, is freedom. So here's my challenge to you. Write down one demand you have about women right now. Just one. Question it. Replace it with a preference. Practice that preference today. See what happens. And if you want to go deeper on this, I've got another video that breaks down the 3 types of irrational thinking that destroy your life, not just with women, but with everything. It's a masterclass on how your brain lies to you and how to stop believing the lies. Click that video right now. It's called The 3 Beliefs That Make You Miserable and How to Destroy Them. I'm going to show you why you're anxious about everything, not just women, and the one mental habit that eliminates 90% of your suffering. It's linked at the end of this video and in the description. Watch it next. Your future self will thank you. Now to get out there and stop demanding. Start preferring. Start living.